Welcome to Emotion Well, EFR's podcast about all things related to emotional well-being. I'm Johanna Dunlevy, the EAP Operations Director for Employee and Family Resources, also known as EFR, and I'm the host of our podcast. As an FYI, EFR is located in Des Moines, Iowa, and we are Iowa's first employee assistance program and provide a variety of services you can learn more about at www.efr.org. Hello, Matt.
Hello. Nice to be here with you.
All right, I'm here with Matt Connolly, and this is our June 2026 episode, and June is Men's Health Awareness Month, and Matt, I thought you'd be a great guest for us to have on Emotion Well, so thank you for saying yes to the invitation.
You're welcome.
We were connected. We have some mutual connections. So Brock, who was just on the podcast, Brock Milligan, I know you and Brock are on a board together at Mindspring, and you know my leader, Tammy Hoyman, she also recommended that I reach out to you. But tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself, and we'll get into kind of your life story and why I selected you for Men's Health Awareness Month.
Thanks. Happy to be here. And yep, Brock and I are friends. And Tammy's great. We've known each other. We sat on a panel a long time ago and stayed connected. I am a big mental health advocate these days. I've been in recovery since 2004. I suffered from mental illness for a good 10 years. Right after graduation from Dowling, I went to Iowa and started having symptoms of schizophrenia. And it just got bad in college, and then was real bad for a lot of years. And I never was diagnosed, never got help, never went to a doctor, never went to a therapist. No one ever thought, hey, Matt probably has a mental illness, because back then no one talked about it or, knew the signs or any of that stuff. So I was homeless. I was couch surfing. Couldn't hold down a job. I was really sick, delusional and hallucinating all day, every day.
Yeah.
And finally got some help that I needed. Saw a doctor and got rushed to the hospital from Broadlawns. I was too sick. Broadlawns is great now and has been for a while, but I was too sick for them to deal with me when I got in front of them. So they shipped me to the Iowa City inpatient facility for 2 weeks. And that's where I was diagnosed, started on medicine, and took me all of 6 months to a year to recover fully from all the symptoms, but been symptom-free for over 20 years, and it's been a great life in the healthy world. I do a lot of wellness practices to stay healthy and symptom-free, and along with taking medicine and going to therapy. I see a life coach. We don't talk symptoms or anything. I don't have any of that stuff and haven't for a long time, but I still stay in touch with she's a counselor or whatever, but she's great. But, and then I see my psychiatrist about, the meds have been pretty steady for me the whole time. Rarely have I changed anything, which I've been lucky about. So yeah, I wear no stigma on my license plate now. I'm a commercial real estate broker. I've been selling buildings for a long time and love it. Love my job. Got a beautiful wife and 2 kiddos, sophomore at Dowling and a 7th grader at Holy Trinity. And we live in a little house in Beaverdale, and life's good.
That's great. That's great. So for our listeners, I think there are a lot of maybe there's always stigma associated with mental health, but I also think there's a great misunderstanding around mental health and specific mental health diagnoses. And so with schizophrenia specifically, it's not that common of a mental health diagnosis. So we talk about, on the podcast, 1 in 5 Americans are living with a diagnosable mental health condition, and anxiety and depression are your number 1 and number 2 most, commonly diagnosed. And schizophrenia is much less commonly diagnosed. And so just to kind of give our listeners an overview, it's a brain disorder that affects a person's ability to and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, Matt, but
Sure.
interpret reality. It causes disruptions in how you're thinking and maybe perceptions of reality, um, hallucinations, delusions. Were those some of the first signs and symptoms that you were starting to have? And did those not come on until you were older, like college aged?
Right. Yeah. I was healthy until after high school, but I mean, I was on the honor roll. I wrestled, varsity wrestler, went to state. You know, it was a great childhood, but and then the wheels fell off, and yeah, all of that is. I mean, no reality really. I mean, I was living in kind of a la la land. Couldn't hold a conversation with people because my mind was on something else. And I'll give you a couple examples. Um, I remember going down the street on Beaver Avenue, um, and being in my car, and thinking I was having a conversation with somebody that was walking down the street. Like somehow we were talking back and forth, communicating, and obviously that's not reality. That's not a real conversation, or not a conversation at all. But
Can I ask, like in that example you just shared, like, did you see a person or did you hear their voice or were you just completely imagining it all?
there was a person walking down the street, and I could not hear their voice, but I was in my mind communicating with them.
Okay.
Yes. Um, and then an example of a hallucination would be that I was trying to be a plumber at the union, and we're on one of the Wells Fargo buildings downtown, I think. And my journeyman, I was picturing him like um, he would come off the ground, like levitate and do like a cartoon, like fast feet thing, and smoke
Yeah.
would come up, and and he'd be like, I'd be thinking he's telling me something like, from a long ways away, and then sometimes I could see like a red laser coming out of his eye, or I think even my eye, I could see like a Superman like red laser coming out of my eye. And another thing that's real common with schizophrenia is that it was a super big symptom of mine was I would play, I call it play or whatever you want to call it, on TV. Like I'd be watching ESPN, and I would see people. I thought there was this whole white collar, blue collar game that announcers were playing, and I would go off into outer space about what they were really trying to say to me, or
Interesting.
you know and
Yeah.
I would hallucinate lines coming off of them, kind of like a white line blue line thing. It's weird. I mean, it's for me, that's the life I was living, but
Yeah.
for you guys all listening, that's obviously wild, right? It's weird, but
Right, right.
the point is it was just very non-reality stuff that was just far out there.
So in those moments, I guess I have two questions. One, with schizophrenia and someone living with it, are you able to also understand at the same time that maybe what you're seeing is not real or that your journeyman wasn't levitating? I mean, is it like you have in addition to like the delusions and the hallucinations, you're also struggling with like what's real and what's not real? Like,
Again, I don't have any symptoms, haven't, so I don't deal with any of that. Haven't for a long time, thank goodness. But when I was sick, yeah, I had a hard time, I guess, understanding people, like
mhm.
what they were trying to tell me.
Yeah,
And I had this whole made up world in my mind that no one else was living in
yeah.
the same reality I was. So, I mean, there was just all kinds of stuff that played a role. One symptom of mine, another symptom of mine was olfactory hallucinations. Have you heard of that?
I've not.
So,
So related to smell,
yeah,
olfactory. Okay,
yep. So I would smell stuff that really wasn't there. Uh,
interesting.
yeah, and so it could be good smells and bad
Yeah.
smells, mostly bad smells. and then my mind would make up some huge story of why I was smelling it and why it was around. I mean, we could be having this conversation right now, and I would smell something, and I would make up. My mind would go some weird space where the reason why I was smelling this or something. It would
Sure.
just create this wild story in my head. But I've got there's a story about a local news broadcaster that's a friend of mine now, and she did a story on me soon after recovery that at one point I thought I was talking through the clouds on the front lawn in Windsor Heights to
Mm-hmm.
downtown KCCI.
Yeah.
And, you know, it wasn't anything like sexual or weird. I mean, it was weird, but it is, you know, I just thought we were totally having a conversation. Like, went from
Yeah.
the TV to the outside and still, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
understanding each other or something weird. But yeah.
So, okay, yeah, I've got so many questions. This is such an interesting conversation. Is it
Yeah.
like only after being on medication and being symptom free that you can look back on these examples that you're sharing and see with more clarity, like, oh, yes, that is an example of when I first started to notice that I was seeing things that weren't there or having conversations with people I wasn't actually having conversations with or talking into the clouds and thinking it was going to KCCI? Like, is it because you're, medicated and removed from those experiences that you can look back on them and recognize those moments in your life when it was obvious something was going on and something was not right?
Yeah, a couple things there. First of all, they're memories, you know, unfortunate memories that I have, regardless.
Just like anyone has memories,
Yeah,
like these were
right.
not your
Yeah.
memories. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And secondly, you know, I I did not know I was sick. So if you're familiar with the term insight into your illness, right? If you have insight into your illness,
Okay.
that's when you start to recover. And
Okay.
so I didn't have insight into my illness until a couple months after being in the hospital and being on
Okay.
medicine for a couple
Okay.
months. Like, so that's when, and I can tell you the story. It's pretty good. So I was at Broadlawn, back at Broadlawn's an outpatient after the Iowa City stint, and you know, and we can get into how and why I recovered so well and maybe so quickly and stuff too. But I had an aha moment where I was an outpatient. We're all in a big circle down in the basement of Broadlawns, and I don't know what we're talking about or whatever. But this one guy in the circle, I looked up and I thought he was doing backflips in the ceiling. And I questioned it for the first time, questioned the delusion and the hallucination. And I was just like, I'll bet you he's not doing backflips up in the ceiling. And so right then my brain started just to turn in the right direction for the first time in over 10 years. And that's when I started to come to. And that's when I started questioning all the delusions and all the hallucinations that I was having and figuring reality out, which obviously was very helpful.
Yeah. In those 10 years, so you had symptoms for 10 years before you
Yeah,
ended up going through treatment.
yeah.
And during those 10 years, do you feel like people closest to you, family members, friends, were they starting to notice things were changing with you? And how did that look? How?
So I lost all my friends. My family disowned me. Like, yeah, it was like, it was scary being around me. It was scary being me. It was just, I
Yeah.
was losing in life real bad. Um, you know, I was at the bottom of the
Were
bottom.
you able to maintain employment during?
No, no way.
No. Okay. And
No
that's
way.
how you ended up homeless
Yeah,
and
yeah.
okay.
And I went around the country for a while trying to figure stuff out. And
Okay.
that didn't help. So yeah, I was living in Memphis. For some reason, I suckered somebody into giving me a apartment in downtown Memphis, cool old historic building, affordable housing project, and they, I don't know, I signed papers. I think I had the lights on for like a month or two, but didn't pay any bills. They let me live there for like I don't know, 6 months total,
Yeah.
but I had no hot water, no electricity.
Yeah.
I was just squatting. And I was out there trying to get like a day job, where a lot of people, a lot of homeless or people close to it try to get those day jobs where you can go for sign up to work on a project for a day or a week or something. And it was, I was, yeah, I was in trouble.
When your friends and family started to step away from you, and were they asking you to get help? Were they saying, was it just they were distancing themselves because they didn't feel safe, or they couldn't be around you?
Good question. I don't, a few things there, like, I couldn't hold a conversation very well, for one.
Sure.
Um, you know, my dad thought I was on drugs,
Okay.
and I had stopped doing drugs. Drugs might have caused the mental illness, but no one knows when I was in
Sure.
college. Um, but I was living in that kind of on drugs world of
Hmm.
you know non-reality. But yeah, I mean, they tried to help where they could here and there, but they just got sick of me, you know, not holding down a job, not being, not participating in family stuff. Um, my friends were like, "What's the use with this guy around? He's,
Yeah.
And so I don't know that I was too scary or anything, but it wasn't like ideal situation
Right.
by any
Right.
means. It's like I mean, people were wanting to give me the benefit of the doubt, but no one knew what was wrong with me and why I was acting this way, and I wasn't contributing to society at all. Um, I was just I was just going through the motions best I could as a very sick person.
So one thing I did read about schizophrenia is that it does typically have a later onset, like in the early adulthood years, like,
Yeah,
18 to 22 is a common time frame. And I did read an article that said, they, in some instances, drug use can kind of trigger it, but not always. And that there's also like family history, people with family history are more
sure.
likely to have it. So how were you then motivated after losing all of these relationships and being homeless and not being employed? Like, how did you move from that space to broad lawns and a diagnosis? Like, did someone take you there?
Yeah,
Did you take yourself there? How did that transpire?
I was committed.
Okay.
Yeah, I was committed by family. It was
Okay.
So I did end up spooking some people, and I think that what really happened is that I was just like so frustrated with the world I was living in, which was not reality, and trying to figure out what was wrong or why my life was this way. That I was acting out a little bit, maybe, or getting a little bit more aggressive with my tone or something. And,
Yeah.
um, I feel like I scared the shit out of my grandma one time. That pissed off my parents.
Yeah.
Um, my sister and I were not getting along. I was very delusional about her and other people in my family, what they were doing, what they weren't doing. It was totally messed up in my mind. Um, and then yeah, so and I think my aunt and my cousin, and so they all kind of ganged up on me finally, thankfully. And I think the law was involved a little bit.
Sure.
So thank goodness, the police, my family, all committed me, and uh, you know from there, the system worked. I mean, I'm a great example of how the system can work. And,
Yeah.
uh, you know, it was super helpful to go to Broadlawns, get transferred by my friend, the sheriff, and one of the sheriff's deputies, and to down I-80 to Iowa City, and
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, it all came to a head, and thank goodness.
Did you have to go through, like, I know you mentioned there was some drug use in your life, but in addition to going into the U of I for I'm guessing the psychiatric
Yeah.
intervention, did you have to do any kind of like drug or alcohol detox at that same time?
No, I
No.
hadn't been doing drugs for a long time.
Okay.
I did do a lot of drugs in college, and like you said earlier, some of us have a predisposition, maybe somewhere in the back of your head, that it'll lay dormant forever, or I've heard a lot of weed will trigger
I've
uh,
heard that too.
a lot. It was something like what I had and have, and then you know. Uh, until your brain fully develops. Like I've told my kids, I'm like, you guys should probably stay away from weed until you're
Yeah.
like 26, because,
Yeah.
I hate to say that, I don't hate weed, but I don't do any drugs. But, um, you know, it's just not smart for them
Right.
to do that. And, they get it. We're very open about it. I'm a huge mental health advocate, so they can't avoid talking about it with me
Yeah,
in our
well,
house.
I was just at an event this morning where
Yeah,
Tammy and so Tammy, the CEO of EFR, our clinical director Tina, and our community services director Haley spoke, and they were speaking about just having conversations with kids and youth around
yeah,
substance use and the different resources available, because EFR does a lot of great things in the community through our prevention-based services, and we have a diversion service. And one of them said, be real with your kids, like just give them the facts. And so your
yeah,
kids, yeah, they could be predisposed to this because
yeah,
of a genetic factor. And so it's good for them to know that marijuana could trigger
yeah,
this, and that's not something you want for them. And so just to give them the information, right? I
yeah,
think that's something that we're trying to work on as a society, is having those hard conversations with our kids, whether they're
yeah,
our own kids or just, kids that we're around. But information, versus scaring them, just giving them the information and the facts. Like, these are the facts. You're going to have to make your own choice, but I don't think you should do this.
I don't think they've ever heard like I've given my story a ton of times in public speaking events, a lot over the years. And I don't think they've actually heard a tape of it or whatever, or heard me live. They've heard it a little bit, a 5 minute, maybe a 10-minute version,
Sure.
sometimes here or there. But I think like what you're saying, just being open and honest about most stuff. Like I don't have to tell them every little detail or anything,
Right.
but it's suicide's common, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Depression, anxiety is real common. Um, Schizophrenia is not as common, but there's all kinds of mental illnesses out
Yeah.
there. And, we educate people out at Mindspring on every single one that we can come up with. My daughter and I were on a walk after dinner last night, and we talked about abortion. It's
Yeah.
like she's almost 16, and I was in a Catholic men's group, small group setting this week, and that's all we talked about for an hour and a half, and everybody had all kinds of views, and I
Sure.
just kind of told her what I came up with. It was kind of nice talking it out loud because I hate talking about that, but it was nice talking about it with those guys, so I knew where I stood, and so I told my daughter, and she's like, "That's nice," and we just had a little 5 minute,
Yeah.
10 minute conversation about it, and you know, uh, it was good. It just, if you avoid, it's like what I tell people. The reason why I've been so successful in recovery is because I don't avoid talking about it.
Yeah.
I don't try to cover it up. I don't try to brush it under the rug. I've just always known it'll rear its ugly head later if I do that. And I refuse to. I don't go bragging about it or anything, but I'm sure as heck not going to be shying away from an
Yeah.
invite to talk to you or anybody else about, you know, mental health.
Yeah. When I talked to Brock last month, I had asked him a question. I think it was around, do you share, with people? So for the
Yeah.
listeners who haven't listened to Brock's episode, he is in recovery from alcohol use disorder. And so I asked him a question like, as you're navigating new social circles and relationships, is that something you would, reveal about yourself? And he was like, well, I don't say that, hi, I'm Brock and I'm an alcoholic, but, it is
Yeah.
also not something I'm going to hide. And
Yeah.
what he said, like, once he started being more comfortable, just like telling people the real reason he wasn't drinking at happy hour or at the
Yeah.
tailgate,
Yeah.
it reinforced his sobriety. And it sounds
Yeah.
like it's kind of similar with you. Like you're not avoiding
Yeah.
uncomfortable conversations. You're
Yeah.
just kind of embracing it, and that's just
Yeah.
part of who you are. So
Yeah, that's right. It comes up, right? I mean, like, and I make sure that if the opportunity is there for mental illness to come up in a conversation, I try to help it along, right?
yeah.
Because as like I didn't realize this was men's mental health May, I know.
June. Yeah. Oh, Mental Health Awareness Month in May. So we're recording in May, but in June it's Men's Health Month. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So, but as guys, especially, you know, I've changed so many people's minds in my sphere of influence to make it okay to talk about mental health.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of it. I mean, it's great because,
I love that.
guys are just, I'm just, matter of fact about it or nonchalant about it or whatever. It just comes up and I'm just like, let's address this. Let's talk about it. I mean, it's fine to talk about your mental health and you know and make it a priority to be healthy and get healthy or stay healthy, either one. And it's important for all of us, to keep it at top of mind.
Yeah. Do you know other people that are in recovery from schizophrenia?
So I'm glad you asked. So cool. I've met two guys that I'm close to or friends with. That one guy I met when I was in the PATH program. You heard of PATH program at
No.
Broadlawns?
No.
They're social workers, and I got assigned a social worker when I was diagnosed, and they were always just there for me for the first few years in recovery in case I needed a ride or in case, what I did every year with them. And I tried to stay with them as long as I could, but they finally cut me loose. But we did goals every year, which was fun to write down my goals for the year
Hmm.
and all that stuff. And social workers are a godsend, right? They
Yeah.
don't make a whole lot of money, but they are so freaking helpful,
Yeah.
and I love social workers. And anyway, when I was in the PATH program, this guy Thomas is his name, and maybe some people know him. He's been in and out of homeless for the last over 20 years since I met him, and he just hasn't quite figured out life as a healthy person or a non-healthy person. I think he's in and out of schizophrenia sometimes, but now I, put him to work at I have him come over to my house. He knows my family. Like he's on Social Security disability. Um, he's healthy most all the time that I've ever been around him for the last, I'd say 3 or 4 years. And he found a house at YMCA supportive housing. I mean, a little studio. So he's got support. He's got, good living conditions right now. And, before that, he'd come over. He's like, oh, I'll just sleep outside my tent. It rained. I'm like, oh man, I can't believe it. But anyway, I've always been trying to support him, and I've known friends that have tried to support him. We've got some mutual
Yeah.
friends and stuff. So anyway, him and I stay in touch. He's a great guy. And then uh, I've never met a person with schizophrenia until last year or two. That has lived in recovery like I have. He lives in South Carolina. We were on a panel together for a bunch of architects, and they were trying to design, like they needed our input or wanted our input for designing behavioral health healthcare facilities. And so there was a few of us with lived mental illness experience all around the country on this panel. It was a Zoom thing that we volunteered for like a half day, and it was fine. You know, him and I were the only ones with schizophrenia, and so we connected on LinkedIn, and then finally months later, I was like, I'm so curious about this guy. So I set up a call. We made friends over the phone, and we were just going off on each other how much stuff we had in common about when
Yeah.
we were sick. And he's like a consultant, super successful guy. I mean, it was so fun. And we still stay in touch and text each other sometimes. And yeah, it's really cool. So yeah, he does recovery different than I do as far as his wellness practices, but some of the same stuff, but some not so much the
Well, I would
same.
imagine it's different for everyone. I mean, everyone's
Yeah,
brain is going to respond differently to medication and talk therapy and life coaching. And do you think it's like for you being symptom free for 20 years, is that unusual? Like, is that,
I don't know. I think so, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, I mean, you read about stuff, um, professors and different people throughout time and throughout even current times that people have schizophrenia that live normal, you know, lives in this world. But I don't know if they've been symptom free like I have, or if they battle it sometimes and sometimes they don't, and I don't know if they've had long careers. I don't know any of that. But this guy definitely has lived, it was symptom free for a long time, similar to me. And so it was super fun finding him and finding each other and being able to be friends about it. It's the first time I've talked to somebody that has the same diagnosis as me that can relate. Like I give these talks, like I said, a lot, and I'm always telling stories and stuff sometimes when I'm talking, and people are asking me questions, but he gets it. Like
yeah, no.
he lived the same weird stories that some of the same stuff, and it's so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something to be said for having a shared experience, whether
Yeah.
you lived it together or you had similar experiences,
Yeah.
independent of one another.
Yep.
Um, Yeah, that's
Yep.
great. Tell us about Mindspring. So I know your day job is you're a commercial real estate broker. Is that
Yep.
correct?
That's correct. Yep.
So, and then you're also very involved with Mindspring. So introduce our listeners to Mindspring, and I'll put some information in our show notes how people can get connected back over to their website. And I know they've got a lot of great resources as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So mindspringhealth.org, and I serve as volunteer president of Mindspring Mental Health Alliance, and we have 3 staff. Our executive director, Christy. We have Alex, and we have Michelle, and then we have a fourth part-time staff, and we're trying to transition her to full-time as we speak. And then we have some contract workers, a couple, 2 or 3 contract workers that help us with some curriculum and whatnot. And given live webinars that we do every day, we do 1 live webinar a day throughout the week, almost every day, Monday through Friday. And it's on topics anywhere from schizophrenia to bipolar to stress around the holidays to mental health in the workplace to um, OCD, or just any kind of mental health concern, and all mental illnesses we try to cover on an educational basis. We're it's therapy for people that have loved ones or themselves suffer from mental illness, but it's not for that. It's for education. It's a, you can chat with Michelle behind the scenes, and you can on the live webinar, and you can listen to the counselor given the presentation and ask her questions through the chat. But it's it's informational. It's not like a talk therapy session or anything, but
Yeah, I've been to some of the webinars. They're
oh, great.
excellent. Really,
Yeah,
and really, like you said, the topics, just real broad ranging topics and kind of something
yeah,
for everyone. Some are more clinical and diagnosis based, information
sure.
about bipolar
Yeah,
disorder. And then some of them are things that are just more like everyday, how to embrace
yeah,
mindfulness during the holidays. And so it's just a
yeah.
nice spectrum of
Thank you.
resources.
Yeah, thank you. I think like I've listened to one on how to talk to your kids about mental illness. Um, I think there's something like that, or how to the next generation, like how to talk to them about that. I think that we've introduced some autism ones lately, or we're going to. Uh, so yeah, we're real proud of our efforts. All of our stuff is original that we've come up with uh, for 150 topics, and I need to put a plug in there for any businesses that want to sponsor, their company to um, get some. I call them custom. The staff doesn't like me calling them custom, but you can pick from a variety of our classes or our education programs, and we can deliver them to you. We're working on our website to do a what's it called, LMS.
Oh yeah, learning management system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're trying to raise some money so we can build that out and really go to work with some companies. But we're free for what I try to tell people is that we're free all day or every day for anybody that wants to jump on. But really, we want you to use your, Gmail or your Hotmail or whatever, Yahoo, because then we know you're doing it for personal reasons. But if you're doing it for a business, we kind of want you to sponsor something. We don't, it's kind of a different element we're trying to, um, you know, utilize for mental health in the workplace. So, but I'd also say that we have a trivia night every year. That's been super fun,
Oh, fun.
really successful. That's in the winter after the first of the year. Um, Holmes Murphy was our big sponsor, and they were gracious enough to have us host
Yes.
or hostess this year. That was fun. We do a golf tournament every year that we raise a lot of money beating the stigma and talking about it at the golf and doing marketing up until then. And good way to get out in the community and raise awareness of what we do. And so that's our two biggest fundraisers of the year. We have a volunteer and volunteer and donor appreciation party in June. Um, we it's just a board of I think 12 of us plus staff that we try to meet every other month, or we do meet every other month, and we've implemented the EOS system. Are you familiar with EOS?
Yes, we do it at EFR, and I have my annual meeting tomorrow and Friday. So yes, I'm very familiar.
so yeah. So it's helped us so much,
Yeah.
focus on the big rocks and grow. And we got big goals and big dreams to really grow our reach. I will say that we have room capacity for 1,000 people. I've told you this before. 1,000 people on Zoom every day, and we're
Yeah.
booked solid
Yeah.
all the
I
time.
know. The first time I went to one of them, I was just blown away by how I think there were 800 and some people there. And I thought, wow, that's crazy. So, but I think it's a sign that people want to learn about the information that Mindspring is offering, and people are curious, and
Yeah,
education, knowledge is power, right? And the more we
yeah,
can inform people, the more likely they are to take those next steps to take care of themselves, or to have that moment where they're like, you know what, something doesn't feel right. Maybe I should talk to someone about this. So that's great. Thank you. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. I've met Christy and Michelle virtually. We've had some meetings, just talking about synergies that we have at EFR, but between EFR and Mindspring. And so maybe more information will be coming soon on that front.
good,
But
good.
we're really excited to support the great resources and services that Mindspring is providing. So this was a wonderful conversation, Matt. Thank you so much. If you don't mind, I'll put your LinkedIn profile in the show notes as
Please,
well
yeah, you
if
bet.
people want to connect with you there. But I really appreciate your time and the vulnerability you have to share your story. And I just believe that if it helps one person, that it was all worth it. And so this is really great. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, thanks for inviting me on. I had a good time sharing some time with you.
Thank you for listening to Emotion Well. Employee and Family Resources is a 501c3 nonprofit organization located in Des Moines, Iowa. We support communities, workplaces, and schools with comprehensive behavioral health services. If you would like to contribute to our mission, please click on the donation link in our show notes.